They never mention physical intimacy. I would put it as number one. Have you ever wondered how a man falls in love? In this video, we will talk about some misconceptions about the process of falling in love for men. Representing why stall? Let's jump into it.
Men are pigs, you say, stuffing your face with ice cream to fill the empty hole of rejection and betrayal. Any relationship is difficult to maintain, but a romantic relationship between a man and a woman is even more so. Why is this? While love is a feeling experienced identically, the act of falling in love involves two entirely different processes for each sex.
That I agree upon. Also, men and women fall in love not just for the sake of it. There's always some evolutionary incentive behind it. This Hollywood-esque, Disney-esque picture of two people coming together and feeling this tingling sensation and just becoming heels over head in love with each other without any specific reason is a great pile of poop. Every person should try to understand our biology. Of course, you will lose some of that magic of connecting with a partner, a potential one, but it will spare you a lot of heartache and make your dating a lot more purposeful.
In the case of men, there are 7 particular steps men follow for falling in love. The first step, appreciation, is by far the most common. It's the act of checking someone out, focusing on the physical appearance of a potential mate. Physical appearance is not the most important factor, yet a condition of a man's individual preferences must be met.
Well, let's break this one down. Appreciation can be translated to, that girl is hot, she's smoking. Men are very physical. We look for cues that will secure our best option for procreation. We look for youth, health, fertility, overall beauty for securing that great genetic code. And saying it's not that important is a bit of a lie. Men do care about character, personality, but it comes much later, dependent on whether you will stay with that woman or not. But in our sexual past, not all men had to stay with a woman. Our primary task is to procreate, and there's no need for a unity for that to happen. Monogamy is a conscious choice.
The second stage, infatuation, involves a need to seduce the target love interest. Traditional methods involve asking the interest out on a date, while alternative methods may be based on shared interests and hobbies. If he is rejected in this pursuit, the man will most likely lose interest.
I mean, asking on a formal date was like 50 years ago. Today we just do something together and see if we have a connection. And if you think about it, dates are for women. We don't care about dates. If she's hot, I'm down with it. Actually, I'd rather to invite her to my place right away to have some great time and see what happens, if you know what I mean. Dates are for women to see whether her boxes are checked. Our first and biggest requirement initially is whether I find her hot.
The third stage is attraction, where the pursued love interest reciprocates interest in him. Heartbreak isn't as difficult to deal with before this point, as vulnerability hasn't built up yet. This is the stage where he attempts to get to know the love interest on a deeper level. A more intense relationship requires both parties to reveal more about one another.
Now see, this one was straight out of a book on how women fall in love. This is not how men do things. We don't care about getting to know someone before going to bed with them. That deeper connection is for later on. Our first desire is to see her naked. Getting to know her comes later on in the process, after we find out that she's kinda cool and I would like to spend more time with her. Women want to take it easy, take it slow, get to know a person, to decide whether he's worthy of giving it up. Attraction, or most importantly, desire, happens initially as the first thing from the get-go.
Impression, the fourth stage, is simply an enhanced version of the previous stage. The potential mate becomes an obsession to the man, attempting to get their attention in any way, shape, or form, from buying gifts to showing how fun he can be. Regardless of these obsessive signs, he is still not in love.
Exactly, those signs are obsessive and showcases desperation from your side. If you do that to a woman, today, 2021, soon to be 2022, you'll be rejected. Just like that. She gets too much of attention for her to care about someone who is very desperate for her attention. She wants someone mysterious, a challenge, someone she could decipher. These things are done by men who don't know anything about women and how they function. Giving gifts and attention is all in the past. When men and women were interdependent, he showcases what he can provide for her. And if everything else clicks for her, she finds him competent enough, then it's a match. But today, she doesn't want any providing for her. At at least in westernized modern world. As a man, you have to be more aloof, more self-sufficient, more stoic, and not show where you stand with her right away.
Conviction is the fifth stage, yet it is far more flexible than the other steps, spanning from stages 2 to 4. This is the stage where the man asks himself whether or not he can see himself with the interest in the far future. Considering how difficult it is for the man to establish if the relationship should become more than it is now, this is a background, overlying phase, yet it needs to be completed in order to reach stage 6.
Oh man, this one is a doozy. Notice how they never mention physical intimacy, which is very important for men. I would put it as number 1 for something more sustainable to happen later on. It's like he sees a girl, he becomes infatuated, and then he decides to ask her out, and then after a date he sits down and pontificates whether she would be a great mother, a great wife. It's not like that at all. But I would say that many men follow this model because they don't know any better. They go against themselves because they have been taught to love as women. A man's love is about appreciation. You date a girl, you have a great time with her, everything clicks, you find her to be very supportive, understanding, caring, and after enough time spent together, you decide that this one would be a great opportunity to create a family with, if that's what you want to do, being in a monogamous relationship and having kids.
Reaffirmation is the 6th stage, where the man has successfully met his goal of seducing the love interest. Only when the potential mate is in this state will he seriously consider whether or not he wants to have an extreme long-term relationship. The man needs space in this stage. In some cases, he could disappear to weigh the pros and cons.
Reaffirmation happens after a long time of being together, dating. As I mentioned in previous point, he has to feel her out, and that of course will be decided after spending a lot of time together. That happens naturally. If you are weighing pros and cons, that means you're not 100% in it. Then that girl is not for you.
If both parties agree, the final stage, commitment, is achieved. Both parties will be committed to the relationship at this point, and considering this is the 7th stage, yes, the man is finally in love.
As I said previously, men's love for women is based upon appreciation. Of course, there are a lot of men without any options, and they will take anything that they can. This is why men don't have any attraction base, meaning that men who are very desperate have zero standards. But here we talk about men who bring value to the world, right? Even though those kind of men are few and far between. Falling in love for a man is more of a rational understanding or more of a conclusion that that match is great for me because it serves a purpose and supports my mission in this world, which doesn't paint a picture of a robot without any affection. I'm just coarsely explaining how a man's mechanism for love functions. A man with options, of course.
It is important to understand, regardless of gender, to learn how to love, and often this involves falling in love. Hopefully, with these tips, you found an easier path to understanding how romance works in the mind of a typical man.
And also you have to understand that we see our love as an asset, as a possession, not in a bad way. It's like dating several women at a time, and still if one of them disappears, you feel hurt because you lost something that was dear to you, regardless if you were in a committed relationship or not. This is why we can hurt even though we're not in love with someone. But for a woman, it's more of an emotional investment. She loves what that man can do for her, not what you are, but who you are. There are some other underlying mechanisms for why we fall in love, both men and women, and maybe I should do a video about it, delving into it more deeply. Click on this one, watch it. If you have video suggestions, comment down below. But for now, Hossein, out.